My name is Victor Palomino. I'm the station manager from RADIOLEX. We are the community radio station here in Lexington. Just going to tell you a little bit really quick about community radio. So basically what we do here is we train people from the community, your neighbors, your friends, your family, people interested in saying something, and we open the microphones for them. We train them, and then we'll give them a space on the air. We have about 100 volunteers that produce locally, produce content, and we also broadcast in two signals. One is 93.9 FM, that's our English station, and the other one is 95.7, that's our Spanish station. And this is one of the few radio stations in the nations that actually broadcasts bilingual under one roof. So we are really proud of that. We are really proud of having this experiment of diversity on the airwaves. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today. Part of what we do, and by having the two language in the station, is providing language justice. Basically, when we talk about language justice, is just giving people the access to hear or know about their community, their local community, in the language that they are more familiar. Their first language is the language that you think, is the language that you use is on your dreams, is the language that you're more familiar. So for us, it's very important that our community receive information and in their language. So when we talk about diversity, sometimes we forget about that diversity is not monolingual, that if we want to reach out to different communities, we have to talk in their language. Especially in a situation like we are right now with the pandemic, when the governor office starting to do the daily briefings about the pandemic, we got together and started to ask the question, is this information being delivered to the international community? Is our Spanish-speaking population knowing what are the new mandates, what are they supposed to do during the pandemic? And the answer was no. So we gathered a group of volunteers, professional translators. We got in contact with the governor's office to send us the points that the governor was giving every day. And with a group of translators, we started a daily process of receiving communications from the governor's office, then creating a script for that, submitted that to, at the beginning, I think it was like more than 10 or 12 different languages. So these translators were working as volunteers and getting the information late at night, submitted in the morning, and then here at the radio station, we did the editing work, and then broadcast everything in our radio station, and also created a SoundCloud link so their translators could deliver that to their communities. So that became a daily work. We're still doing that right now. We're doing it weekly. Once a week, the governor is still sending us basically a summary with what he has said during the week, and we continue to translate that and put it on the air. So that was a big effort that we have here, and we created, but also give us open the question more of like, how are we doing to communicate with all these different communities? What are we missing in the delivery of trying to be a diverse city like Lexington, but at the same time having a lot of trouble communicating with our diverse communities? So what happened after that was that a group of people from the Latino community got together thinking about channels of communication to deliver our message. We still have a lot of work to do to get local information to those communities. One of the things that we have found is that there is a lack of trust on a lot of immigrant communities and government offices, or even some nonprofits, or everything that sounds very official, because at least for the Latino community, a lot of them have been feel in living in fear, at least for the last 4 years or 10 years. A lot of them try to keep a low profile, so they don't, so they try to live like an invisible life. And a lot of them prefer to get information from their own countries or from national broadcasters that they're going to give them a global picture of what's going on, but they're missing the local perspective. That is very important. We also realize that normal channels of communications are not usually what people are paying attention to. Another problem, a big problem that we have during the pandemic, is the fact that a lot of these communities work and they get local information by word of mouth. So, but during the pandemic, outreach to this population was very difficult, just because we were restricting social events and maintaining the guidance of separation and all that. In one point, the Latino population is 10% here in Lexington, about 10%. And in one point, we were like 40-50% of positive cases. So that was a big challenge for us to try to get the communication of like, please get tested, please follow the guidelines for COVID-19. And it wasn't until it was a big breakdown in one of the Latino supermarkets that we finally got the attention from some of the business owners and for some of the religious organizations. And we created a series of videos. And at this time, what we did was we used social media to deliver this message. And that really worked. And since then, we have up our social media presence. There's a lot of information that has been delivered not only by the governor's office, but also by the mayor's office, and other organizations that are trying to get people informed about the vaccine rollout and how to get it. But most of that information is only in English. So when that happened, our communities are they don't know what to do. I mean, if you're a new immigrant, if you don't speak the language and you see all the information in English, you are not going to feel like they're talking to you. You're going to think that that information is for someone else. It's not for me. So we are trying to bring that information to our community, working with UK, working with the health department, working with local business owners, like trying to get all the community together, work as a group to deliver this information. And not only in Spanish, like again, we have a big international community and diversity is not monolingual. So we try to deliver this information and translate this information. So one point there is that not all agencies or organizations have a budget to translate materials. It is something that needs to be part of the budget of any organization that is thinking about diversity. So right now with the vaccine, we're trying to do the same. We're trying to continue using social media, continue using our radio station, continue collaboration with allies, with organizations like KITA, that is the Kentucky Interpreters Organization, and Access Language, that is a nonprofit that also work with professional translators in the hospital setting and in different settings, and they have been a really good help for us. Continue working with KRM, that is the Kentucky Refugee Ministry, that has been a key ally and delivering information to our refugee community. Also, We work with the Kentucky Equal Justice Center, and they help us to not only to deliver a lot of information about work rights, but also how people can sign up to Affordable Care Act and all these different options that they have. So collaboration with these agencies, they're already working on the ground, also with some religious institutions, with anyone that have a contact with their community is also a key part in this work to try to bring language justice and diversity to our city. One of our biggest challenges is how to combat misinformation. And again, we have to count with our partners, with trying to find the leaders on the community, people that that they're known and they can become like the face of a vaccine campaign. For us and for a lot of immigrant communities, if you have a poster with the face of the mayor or the city council getting the vaccine, they are not gonna feel identified there. So we need to go to our community, identify their leaders, take that picture of their getting the vaccine, and then try to put posters around or deliver it on social media so people can see themselves reflected there and say like, oh yeah, they're talking to me. I'm part of this community. I'm gonna be doing my part. So it's complicated, it's hard, but it's a great work that we need to do. And this is the change of the South. We are creating, or we're being part of the uh, evolution of the South, where it's not only a homogeneous space, it's a very diverse space, and I think that's beautiful. It's make it like really rich and very culturally interesting. But at the same time, if we want to embrace that diversity, we have to make an effort to really communicate with everybody in our community. So language justice is one of the most important works that we do here in community radio in RADIOLEX, and it's something that we're gonna continue doing because things are gonna continue that way, that this trend of immigrants and different people coming to Kentucky and to other states in the South is going to continue because it's beautiful here, because not everybody wants to live in big cities, not everybody wants to live in LA or New York or Miami. And a lot of people come here from small towns or small communities. So when they move here to the United States and they found community like ours, they feel comfortable. You know, they feel like they can make a neighborhood. They feel like it's a small space, kind of like where they used to live, or a small city, kind of like they used to live. So they become then really important part of our community. So this is my speech about diversity and language justice, and how community radios can help in this time of distress, and our normality change, and we all have to work together to protect not only our families and our friends and our neighbors, but also our whole community. So if you get something for this conversation, don't think monolingual. Don't think that everybody understands English, or even if somebody speak English, you're always going to have your first language, and that's the one that you're going to feel more comfortable in. That's the one that again is the language that you think and the language that you dream, and that's going to be the language where you want to hear that important and vital information like we are going on right now during this pandemic. We cannot let our diverse community get behind on the vaccination campaigns, on rental assistance, work compensations for people that have no jobs, we cannot get behind just because of language, just because we are not translating material, just because we are not doing a bigger effort to communicate with everybody in our community.